Screening as part of the Melbourne Documentary Film Festival is a film called Dead Parents Club, and it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the co-director of that film, Gena Lida Riess. Gena, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, this is you making a film about a stage production where
Mm.
people work as they have backgrounds with dead parents and they workshop this play and so on. How did you get involved in making a film about all this?
So Lara is a good friend of mine, my co-director, and also who was the performance director. So she was her first step into the documentary space. And as a documentary filmmaker, she asked me to come and essentially in the beginning it was very much like not really sure what this is going to be, but really like can feel that it's something special. So let's like record it, just like document it, I guess yeah, preserve it as well. And over the course of the 6 weeks that we were filming, it was, the story kind of came out of it. So it was very kind of at the bare bones observational. And then over time, it kind of became a bit of a commentary and kind of found the story through it. So yeah, that's how I got involved. I'm not a performance person, so this was all very new to me and very exciting.
Ah, how interesting to hear that. And of course, we're speaking about Lara Toms, I think, is your co-director.
Yes,
Yes, who's, of
yes,
course,
yes, Lara Thomas.
No, Tom's and she's in the film, of course, as
Mm.
directing the stage production. So, tell me about the process, how you work together in filming the stage production, and how the story all came together, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, so it was really just honestly like a kind of learning by doing process. So like I came on board the beginning of the actual performance itself. It was kind of, I guess, it mirrored the documentary because it was not like kind of over constructed. It was very much like a collaborative performance. So the cast members of the performance had all kind of come together and they'd been cast their kind of orphan alter ego, I guess you could call it. So each person in the cast, which is a cast of around 15 people of like non-actors, non-performers, for the most part. They all were cast. Lara gave them each a orphan character from like a Disney or kind of popular culture character. And so then over time, it was kind of a process of like figuring out what were the kind of markers of the story. So they had like rehearsals, but they also had like one-on-ones with Lara. They had check-ins. It became a very emotional experience. So like through the actual art of crafting this performance, it became a very like therapeutic, don't love using that word, but a therapeutic space for all of them. And they became really close. And so for me, I guess it was interesting because like I haven't lost a parent. And so I was very much an outsider looking in, which I guess is usual for documentary filmmakers in some ways, but it always feels a bit weird. But I mean, it was honestly just such a pleasure. I really like it came to see how vital, how important it is for like community of all sorts. But in this space, it was these people who, grief can be a very kind of personal thing as it happens to individuals, obviously, and families. But in this space, it was very much like coming together and finding all these kind of shared experiences, and really kind of being held by that. So I guess for me, it was about kind of figuring out where the kind of the points of tension were, but also where the kind of like the story arc was in reality. And it was very much like using the performance as this like growth for these individuals and a group. Did that answer your question? I feel
It
like
that
it kind of, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's a it's good
yes.
explanation. I was just wondering, as you were talking about all of that, though, whether the camera
Mm,
being there, filming them as they are
mm.
progressing through their performance and working it all out and so on, whether there was any intrusive factors about the camera being there.
I think that there wasn't so much because I guess, I mean, the film itself is made up of like, yeah, a mixture of like rehearsals, kind of like we call them one-on-ones, which is like rehearsals just with Lara, and a cast member kind of a mixture of talking about their, relationship to their own grief, their kind of history, but then also really very much kind of doing the work for the performance, so kind of getting like moving in your body and kind of getting into character. So I think that because of that, because it was a performance and there was a camera, it didn't feel like it hindered in the same way. We weren't kind of, and also because the emotion was so authentic, because it's such an emotional topic, and because Lara is like someone with lived experience, she really held each person and held the whole cast of these like orphans. Um, I think that that made a really big difference to kind of like being a less self-conscious. It felt everybody was exposed, and yeah, we did work to make sure that we kind of were away, like stepped away when it felt like there needed to be a bit of space from the camera. But yeah, it was just kind of a moving through it. I think at the beginning they didn't. There was a lot of trust to be gained as an outsider, and I think over time I really became like part of the group, I guess. Like obviously not. Uh, yeah. Yes, I did. I feel like I did. I feel a bit embarrassed saying that, but I feel like I did.
Okay, no, no, that's fair enough. I was wondering, in your previous films and in other documentary films and with filmmakers, were there any
Mm.
particular influences on you in terms of how you made this film?
It's a really good question. And definitely there were at the time. Um, I mean, so I made a short film like now 10 years ago, all about reality television called Creating a Monster. And I think that there was some overlap weirdly in terms of like this the human versus the trope, or like the human versus the like kind of popular culture construction. So like for in this case it was what grief feels like for a human and what it looks like versus how it is used as a narrative device in kind of like, let's just say like your classic Disney films, and how like what it means for um kids watching these shows, kind of like the orphan trope is a way to kind of emancipate a character to set them on the hero's journey. And so then when it's paired with people who have real life experience of losing a parent or both their parents, there's like a really stark difference there. And so I think that with creating a monster, I kind of it also was this idea of like dramatic archetypes used in reality television, but then the kind of real world experience when real people are used for narrative construction. And again, it's different, but there was kind of some overlap. I think that my fascination is kind of about unpicking a lot of these assumed parts of popular culture that we maybe don't notice, which I find fascinating. But yeah, there was other ones as well. At the top off the top of my head, I can't remember now. I'm drawing a blank, but it a mixture of like this observational space where I have done not as much stuff in observational doc. I found quite difficult as well, just kind of relying on being able to kind of see action unfold. Um, but there's so many great kind of performance docos as well. We kind of wanted to have that mixture of really like looking at the craft as well as looking at the human emotion. Yeah,
Fair enough. No, that's a great way to explain all that. That's terrific.
cool.
So,
Oh, awesome.
yeah. So what you've done is you've documented a real process. Tell me about the actual then final performance of the company, if you like, at the Capitol
Yeah.
Theatre, a wonderful theatre
Yeah.
in Melbourne, because. All sorts of things could have happened at the final performance. Things could have gone wrong, all
Mm.
sorts of things. Tell me about that and filming all that.
Yeah, I know. Well, that was interesting. I think that that was part of the interesting thing about kind of following a performance is I became really invested in it going well, but I think that in some ways it ultimately the thing that really stood out to me was yes, it was really important that the performance went well because they invested so much time in it, but also ultimately like it wasn't really about the performance and really like the audience, like, you know, they obviously they were there and they enjoyed it, but they could have not been there and they would have had a very similar experience because it was really for them as a group. But I think that that's the thing that actually really stood out to the audience. That was really palpable. That there was like this real kind of like community on stage, and that I mean, it was, yeah, it went really well and it was very exciting. I mean, we filmed backstage, kind of getting ready, but then we also got to see it another night, like on the kind of like matinee. So yeah, it was I guess it felt I haven't ever had like been in a performance like that, so it felt like being a part of it. I finally got that kind of like theatrical I don't know, excitement. Yeah, but it was really good. And I think that there was really touch and go there. Like they were making changes like days before. Like it felt like it was I think that there was just so much investment in this in a way that I have never experienced. Yeah.
Wow, what a story! What a process! And it's
Yeah.
interesting. It's interesting to note there are two possible reactions. One is the reaction that the performers had from the audience in the theatre production.
Mm.
What was their response also to the final version of the film when they saw it?
Oh, yes. I mean, so Lara did a lot of that work, and I mean, I think that it was amazing for them. I think that also because it's come out like we did the performance, it was nearly 3 years ago now, so it's been a while. Um, so to be reminded of that and to like see it with a bit of space, not kind of, the way that memory works is we like remember certain things that stick with us, but a lot of it's a bit blurry. So then to be reminded for them, I think was extremely like moving. I think all of them were really grateful that they had it documented in this way. Also, I guess they got to learn about each other because a lot of the filming was done in the big group, but also it was done like in their one-on-one sessions. And I think the thing that I found really amazing is watching Lara direct in the way that she does, is that in those first initial one-on-one sessions, she was talking to each person and having just kind of normal conversations, but also heavy conversations. And I kind of did not realize that all of this was part of her process, like her kind of development process. And, then the following week, she would have like inserted into this like working script, like some of these ideas that they talked about in this like very emotional conversation. And, obviously made sure it was okay with them and like they kind of talked through it. And I think that like it was really exciting for the cast members to see the other people's process in the cast because they're also close still. Like they have a WhatsApp and like keep in touch. It's definitely like bonded them together. Yeah. So I'm really excited for opening night to have them all there and to kind of be able to like revisit this like really yeah, formative journey.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes. That will be a great experience for everyone concerned. That's terrific.
Mm,
And I must ask you about the editing process because obviously you filmed lots more than
mm.
you finally used. How did you decide what scenes and sequences stayed in the film and what had to be snipped out?
Oh my gosh. It was so hard. It was so hard. It was so interesting as well because I like recently did a documentary called Queens of Concrete, which we filmed over 8 years. And funnily enough, it felt like this film was harder to like pick what to keep in and what not to than the 8 year project, which is just so fascinating. But I think that it's because there was so many directions we could go in. I mean, my process. So I also was like assistant editor. So I did a lot of the kind of like pre stuff before we kind of got into the edit, and it is crazy. I feel like I've actually revisited my notes, like just spreadsheets of like the themes that people touch on, and then like all the different characters who say different things, and then kind of like figuring out like what who should say what and when because they all there were so many really amazing points that talked to the orphan trope but also to the experience of grief and also the kind of combination of them of both of them. um I think it was a hard process. I think that having Lara was really great because I guess we had a kind of constant sounding board and yeah, amazing editors as well, Delaney and Patrick. So I would say in a team effort, kind of like just doing the work to very slowly get rid of stuff, even if we loved it, and what was really important and like what was really, yeah, to kind of keep in. Yeah, yeah, but it was hard.
Fair enough. I understand that process. I speak to so many documentary filmmakers, and it's editing is always the most difficult. So yes, that's uh,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that this was like because it was because we went into it with less direction. It was kind of this open, like, let's see what happens. I think from there, it was really finding the story in the edit. Some shoots you kind of plan a lot more in like, your kind of development and pre-production stage before you start shooting. So yeah, there was a lot of footage to get through and figure out. Yeah.
Of course, absolutely
Yeah.
understand. I can also see that your film, as well as the stage production, but certainly your film, which will travel and so on, will have an educational function for people who are orphans or have suffered grief, and so on. So that might be another market to look at for the film.
Definitely. I think yes, yeah, and also the intersection of, these like child like characters experiencing grief. I think also it seems like a really good tool to understand your own grief by looking at characters that you know and kind of deciphering the difference. And yeah, I think that I agree. I think that it's really interesting. I mean, I know that I learned a lot through the process, and the difference of like the way that tropes are used for narrative devices versus the lived experience, and how, grief kind of the understanding of how grief is not a linear journey, even though we may want it to be, and that kind of really stood out to me, and I hope that through the film it kind of that's part of the messaging as well.
Yes. Oh, very good.
Mm.
I'm glad you mentioned Queens of Concrete. That was such a good documentary. I really enjoyed
Oh, thank you.
that great story. How do you decide what films you get involved with?
I just follow my nose, I think. But I mean, I guess maybe that's really lucky to say. Like Queens of Concrete was me and my two, like, so me, Eliza, and Oscar. So Eliza's the director, I was the producer, Oscar the cinematographer. We all went to uni together, like we graduated together, and like Eliza made this short film and just decided to keep following. And she just asked me, I did never produce anything before. So like she just, and so to be honest, we were just kind of making it together. It was very much like we would, I would say like that kind of started and then that went on for 8 years. And in the middle of it, I just kind of, usually through like people that I respect, like friends, just ideas, kind of follow things. A lot of things you try and do, they don't end up coming, don't end up being anything. So the ones that I have been able to do have been definitely like a labor of love. I would say my interest is definitely things that kind of connect to me. So like, stories about, yeah, queer stories. I guess kind of like, yeah, like I said, like looking at like kind of popular culture and certain commentary and critique. But yeah, mainly it's also the people who I like working with. That's definitely a big thing, which will make me decide whether to be a part of a project or not. Yeah, but it's a good question. It's actually one that I think I should really think about because I just you know it when you want to do it and you don't when you don't, and yeah, just gotta yeah follow your nose. And obviously, there's like a lot of times where you'll just be working in the middle and doing other stuff just to get by, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're super successful and then 2 months later you'll feel like you've got no work. So yeah, yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
That's the film industry. That's how it all works. But I understand your response.
Yeah.
Are you working on other film projects at the moment?
I am. I'm working on some film projects. Yeah, I'm in development in with a couple, which I'm excited about. Uh, so I was one of the producers for the Mushroom documentary series, The Mushroom Murders, sorry, the Death Cap Revealed, which it was on Stan, a three-part series. So I worked on that for like literally right after Queens of Concrete screened at MIF. I went straight into that and I was pretty much living there, going back and forth down to Leongatha. anyway, that really drained me, and
Mm.
it was a big project. It was really a great experience. But I think after that, after now that it's out, I'm like it's maybe light something lighter, and so I'm working on a Big Brother, something about Big Brother Australia, and that's my tunnel vision at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
How interesting.
Yes, yeah. I'm like, is it good? Because I'm kind of like doing a little teaser, kind of I'm hinting at it. But yeah, that's a personal project. And then I've got other things that I do um
Okay.
alongside, yeah.
And th that show will have a new host, Mel Tresina. How are you working with her?
Oh wait, no, I'm no, my documentary is about Big Brother Australia. So it's like is that
Ah,
yes, yeah, yeah. So it's like a more the old school one. Like you remember the 2001 Sarah Marie um, kind of, landscape. It's not really about Big Brother. Anyway, I probably said too much, but it's again similarly like looking at kind of popular culture and kind of media landscape and the impact on, I guess, people slash me.
very good. Okay, no,
Yeah,
that's fine. And
thank you.
yes, the and that mushroom documentary that's on Stan. Goodness me,
Yeah.
that's what a story that is. Hopefully, the caterer didn't
Mm.
serve any beef Wellington.
Yes, totally. I mean, I never didn't have any beef Wellington while I was working on it, but I thought about it. I thought about
Yeah.
it and I thought, no, I don't think so. But yeah, it's that was a big job and like yeah, like I said, really amazing experience. And very much like in the true crime. I mean, Queens of Concrete and is just so different,
They are.
in terms of actual content and execution. So it was really great for me, as a kind of an emerging filmmaker.
You have a very interesting filmography and approach to various topics. So that's terrific. And of course, we've been speaking to Gena Lida Riess about her film that she co-directed with Lara Toms, Dead Parents Club, which is screening as part of the Melbourne Documentary Film Festival in July. Gena, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Peter. Lovely to talk to you. Thank you.
Okay. All the best.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.